Hey everybody, this is Dan Lapel for New Focus Recordings. Really happy to be joined by composer Eric Nathan this morning. Hey Eric, how's it going?
Good. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on Zoom for a few minutes to talk about this new release we have coming out of your music. Big two CD set. It's called Missing Words, and it includes a series of pieces that are all inspired by and based on these invented words by an author, Ben Schott, invented German compound words, right?
Right. Yeah.
The idea that that German is uniquely good at expressing these sort of ineffable uh, life phenomenon. Talk about how the whole project like just came to be in a sort of more real life sense.
Yeah. I was in Rome at the time at the American Academy. My wife forwarded me an article in the New York Times, it's an op art um, thing that was featuring Ben Schott's book. And so there were a number of these words that, like Eisenbahnscheinbewegung, the false sense of movement when you're sitting in a stationary train. One train departs, feels like you're moving backwards, but you're not actually moving. So, like these little words, I was like, these are so great. And I was at the time writing a piece for the Schrun ensemble of the Berlin Philharmonic, and they were based in Germany. They're German group, and I thought, oh, this would be a very cool idea, setting these words for this ensemble. So I wrote the first set of three, and then a few years later, I had an opportunity to write a piece for the American Brass Quintet, and a colleague of mine, David Josephson, said, you should just set the whole book. So I started thinking, I could make this a series, kind of like Barrios sequenzas or something, each for a different instrument or instrumentation. So that started this process that's been going on for about 8 years, where I've been delving into the intimate worlds of each of these very specific words and concepts.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic, and I think the fact that you have all these different instrumentations actually really expands the palette that much more to sort of be able to express these different concepts.
Right.
So uh, every one of Shot's words is represented, right?
No,
Oh,
I think I have about 20 of the words. So, yeah, we're not, there's 120 of them. So
okay,
there's a
sorry.
lot more that could be done. Yeah.
I need to pick up a copy of the book. Well, that's volumes two, three, and four, I guess.
Right, right.
But it's great. It's a huge project already, and I guess as I've gotten to know this record and was listening through, one of the things that was interesting to me was to sort of consider, the ways that you're trying to express and encapsulate these concepts, and I was curious about how that might be different than your sort of normal process for writing a piece, even a piece that might have some programmatic elements. I mean, it just seems like there's something about the nature of these sort of concepts that is a little bit different even than spinning out a narrative or something like that, because they're often these sort of quirky contradictions built into the words themselves, I guess. So
Yeah,
go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, absolutely. I really, this whole project totally changed the way I think about music, how I create it, my whole practice in a sense. It's been parallel to other music I've been writing that's incredibly different from this. Um, but yeah, just embracing the idea that I could be as pictorial as I wanted, but doing that directed me to worlds that I had never encountered in my own music. And so I felt like these were puzzles, how to convey this feeling. But the feelings or the things that the words define were just starting points. So then I would sometimes create a story behind them of how do you maybe get to the feeling of the word. And so I think of them, the words in the end, I think can be an interesting point of departure to view the works as, but I think they also then work as their own as just a piece of music. Um, but they wouldn't have arisen had I not examined a feeling very, very deeply, and many times with humor.
Yeah, yeah, that's another really great component of this set. And I agree with you. I mean, there are some of them that I listened to before I'd really sort of gone into the booklet and figured out what the backstory of the given word was. Uh, and they're dynamic pieces no matter whether or not you know that. But I think it gives it this extra sort of hook and interest when you
Yeah,
start you're a participant in a way to sort of think about the concept and then see, oh well, how did Eric handle this?
right.
Well, let's talk about the opening track from the first set. I think it actually is a great example of some of what you're talking about, particularly the sort of the pictorial or the way you can capture a sort of an actual physical experience through music.
Right, yeah. So this is Eisenbahnscheinbewegung, or direct translation, railway illusion motion. So I wanted to have this sense that it feels like you're moving, but you're not actually moving. And so at the beginning, we have all these glissandi and microtones that are these worlds of just kind of sliding and mirroring together. But interestingly, I end up moving a lot from one chord to exactly the same chord to exactly the same chord, but they're all voiced differently. So it feels like you've moved, but you actually
Uh,
haven't. So
yeah,
there's this kind of trick involved. And at the end, you start to hear kind of the sound of a train getting up and the horn being blown and whatnot. And we rush off into down the track finally.
yeah, that's great. No, it definitely it really captures that that disorientation very effectively. So let's listen to a little bit of this track. I'm gonna mangle this. Eisenbahnschweinbewegung. And we're hearing the Boston Modern Orchestra Project conducted by Gil Rose. That's so great. So, well, let's talk about the first work in the second set, Missing Words 2. And you wrote these pieces for the American Brass Quintet, right? As you sort of mentioned a minute ago. Oh, actually, sorry. We're going to listen to the third work in the set, Berlin
Mhm.
Brillants, which is has something to do with getting new glasses, right?
Right. Yeah. So it's the new found clarity you have when you put on a new pair of glasses. So I remember this very vividly when I was in fourth grade. I didn't realize I needed glasses, but I ended up just standing next to the board in my classroom. And then when I put glasses on, I'm like, wow, the trees have leaves. I can see all this detail. So this idea of, and I've experienced it numerous times whenever I get a new pair. Sometimes it's a little bit jarring when you put on the new pair at first. So here there's this dialogue that is between this very brilliant sound that you hear the brass quintet playing a C major chord, and then I have the trumpets and trombones actually each of them removes one of their valve slides. So when they then press that valve down, the sound comes out the slide, and it's this very detuned, fuzzy, hazy sound. And so within the same instrument, it's also antiphonal. It comes at a different side of the instrument. And so you get this brilliant sound and then this very murky world, and they're put in contrast to each other. In essence, having the players relearn their instruments. It's all new fingerings and slide positions. So it's quite a task I gave them, but I think this is also an example of kind of reimagining the mechanics of the instruments, reimagining how I think about sound as a way of capturing this feeling.
Yeah, that alternation at the beginning is almost sort of like proto Mahler-esque. The feeling like, you get this big bold chord and then all of a sudden the color changes and it's
Right,
almost
right.
shifts spatially in a way. Cool. Well, let's take a listen to the opening of Berlin Berlin's American Brass Quintet and hear this cool sort of transformation that happens with the valves. Great. Well, let's check out an example from one of the sets later or this is actually on disc two, from the set Missing Words 5 for the Neve Trio, and this is Ludwig Syndrome. What is Ludwig Syndrome?
So Ludwig syndrome is discovering an indecipherable note in your own handwriting.
Right.
And I think because Ludwig van Beethoven was known for his notoriously messy handwriting, probably why that word was created with Ludwig in it.
Right. And at this one, your approach is a little different. I sense than some of these more sort of visual, pictorial uh, words that you said. Here, it's a bit more conceptual, and there's also a certain amount of reference to Beethoven's material itself, right?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it is a more abstract approach, which it was a tricky task to convey. How do you convey a messy note in your own handwriting? So I went to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, to the manuscript, and was looking at it, and it's so wild, and all the crossouts, and it's misaligned. The measures don't all line up vertically. And so I took a few pages of that and said, let's pretend this was a note I wrote to myself for a piece. And so, because when I write music, I draw shapes on the page for textures. So I saw the crossed out scribble. I'm like, oh, that could be a low rumbling piano texture. And this misaligned music could be this heterophonic two streams of rhythm happening. And so there are little whiffs of Beethoven, but imagined through maybe how you might misinterpret the manuscript in some way.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah. So yeah, what I really have loved about this series is that I feel it just, we look at little bits of our life that and a daily experience that you might not always notice, but that when you focus on them, you can find meaning in it. And over the course of all the 23 movements, I feel like it really paints a picture of maybe what the experience of life is, and that some of them are humorous, some of them are sad, some of them are probing, but it's like life is made up of lots of little moments and experiences that we could connect together to create something meaningful.
Yeah, that's great. Now, there's a sort of endless charm to words like these in general, and the idea of inventing a whole new set of them for that sort of speak to contemporary life is really pretty cool and fun. Let's take a listen to some of this Ludwig Syndrome, performed by the Neve Trio. Great. Well, let's look at one last example. The piece that closes the set from Missing Words 6 for Hub New Music, and this is Roller Rook Blende, which translates as a very evocative flood of memory released when looking at old photos. So that's a sort of very internal, almost a sort of psychological phenomenon. How did you approach setting that?
Yeah, so when I was writing it, the movement that comes before I think of as a pair. That's a rebus terror, and that's the fear, the dread at the first indications of a fatal disease. And so a friend of mine was dying of cancer at the time, and so I wrote this piece that begins like this chorale, um, this embracing feeling, in rebus terror, every time the chorale comes in, you lose one of the instruments until it's just this sound of noise in the background. And the flute is just this lone um, kind of thread of dignity that stays amidst what's looming. And then the next movement, the Rolle Rook Blende, is like looking back on another time and remembering maybe things in color. So it actually then traces the whole movement of a rebus terror in literally, but with everything filled in
Ah,
and living color. So perhaps remembering beautiful times. And so the very end of this, of the Rolle Blende, which maybe will listen to, is I feel is the most laid bare and just intimate music of the whole set. And I feel it's like kind of thinking about what has it all meant that we've gone through. So very sparse but direct music.
wonderful. So we're listening to essentially the very last minute of this uh, piece, and this is Hub New Music performing. That's beautiful. Very evocative way to end the whole set. Well, this is such a fantastic project. Thanks again, Eric. And we should mention that there's, in addition to the music for Bebop that we sampled and the Neve Trio and Hub New Music, there's a wonderful set that the International Contemporary Ensemble plays, and two sets. Am I right about that? Oh no, sorry, just one by Perry for cello and piano by Perry Karp and Christopher Karp. And there's so many people involved in the production of all these different sets that I think I'm just going to advise anybody who's interested to please visit the album page on the New Focus Recordings website, and you can see all the wonderful people who were involved in this great project. And thanks to everybody who played and was involved, and thanks to everybody who's going to check it out. It's a super cool recording, very unique, and excited to see this come out. So it actually comes out tomorrow, January, where are we, 22nd now?
21st tomorrow.
21st, sorry.
Yeah.
In all the places you would expect to see music coming out in 2022. And thanks again so much, Eric. Congratulations.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone involved in this project. Took many to build it off, bring it off, but
Yes.
very
Yeah.
grateful.
Great. Okay, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.